Okay, so now we've moved ourselves onto the turning Y. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a portion of this. The turning Y itself is fairly well preserved. You'll be able to see that in a second. So we're kind of facing westward here. You can see the grade just to the right, just to the north of us here. And so basically what we have is the turning Y. And if you're not familiar with that, it's basically a railway structure. It's an inverted Y with the open end towards the main part of the track. And the idea is that it would allow the trains to, particularly the locomotives, to reverse direction. And so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be working our way kind of south easterly. So we're going to be heading into the top end of the Y. And again, it's a little bit difficult to see today because of the lighting. And so you got a lot of light and dark spots. But basically we can see sort of this elevated section, which is the grade. Again, it's very well preserved because we can actually feel the indentations of the ties, and in some places you can see them. It is very grown in here. And again, there's still traces of snow left over. And so it is beginning to turn now more into a southerly direction. Again, it might be hard to see, but there is the indentations here from the ties. It's very noticeable from my perspective here walking along. Again, it might be hard to see on the camera. So we're approaching the junction of the Y. So where the two legs came together. Hopefully we're going to be able to see that. So it's actually right here. And so this would have been the eastern leg of the Y and the western end right here. And I don't know if you can make out, there's a little bit of a valley here. And so you can see, again, the eastern leg over here, the western leg over here, and here's this valley right in between. And so then this continues southward for a little bit. You might be able to make out the sort of elevated portion of the Y here in this shaded area. And so I think it kind of comes to an end here, or just a little bit shortly thereafter. It starts to get really, really grown in here. So what we'll do is we'll follow part of the eastern leg. Again, the indentations from the ties are very noticeable. And again, here is the intersection. We might have to come back here at some point when it's a cloudy day, so we can actually make this out and not get washed out by the sun. Okay, so we're back up on the grade, and we're going to work our way a little bit further to the west. Again, the station is just right in here, right to our south. Now, on maps, not the one that you would have seen at the beginning of the video here, but on other maps, there's basically a structure just to the north here, just north of the grade. Again, I did try looking for that structure, but unfortunately, I didn't find any trace of it. All kinds of debris, buckets, cans, bottles, all that kind of stuff, but nothing that would resemble any type of structure. Now, what's significant about the structure that was in there was on one of the maps, there's a name associated with the structure, and it says Dowman. And what's interesting about that is that's actually the name of an individual. And it's kind of very interesting because Dowman was actually an American. Richard Dowman was the customs agent at Gunflint Lake. He started the job in 1892 and then kind of left the job for a while and then came back, and really from the late 1890s and then all the way till about, not quite sure when the customs house on Gunflint Lake closed, probably around 1913, 1914. It probably wrapped up, but he was the customs agent there. And so it's interesting that he did have a house here. And so what we believe was happening was after he wrapped up his customs duties, because it was not easy to get from Gunflint Lake down to the nearest city there, which is Grand Marais. Obviously, with the railway being here, he would have had a connection to the city of Port Arthur and Fort William. And so he basically built a house here. And so there is some suggestion that he also acted as the customs agent, not the customs agent, the station agent in this area, right? So basically he was running the station at North Lake. So kind of a very interesting situation. He was also spending time back at his former customs house at the junction between Little Gunflint and Gunflint Lake, where he was tending that former structure that was owned by the Merritt family of Michigan. And there is a very famous photograph that shows him there around about 1919 or so. Now, he did leave the area in 1922, and so that was about a year before the train stopped running here. And so kind of a very interesting little story with Dowman living over here by North Lake Station. And certainly there was a lot more fluidity with regard to the border. And so what we're going to do is we're going to switch off another little trace here. So we do have a spike sitting here, right here on the middle of the grade. And so we're going to switch off and we're going to be taking a look at the coal bunker very shortly. Okay, so we're at the west end of the station area at North Lake. And so we're going to be concluding our little exploration today here, and we're going to be examining what's left of the coal dock, the coal bunker here at North Lake. And unfortunately it is essentially gone. It is in a very, very sad shape. There's really not much left to it. In this area is all kinds of little remains here. There's bits of coal all over the place, scattered here. You can see bits of coal over here. I always remember when I first came through here, the road here would always be kind of had this sort of black tinge to it from the coal spilling out of the bunker. You can see we have things like a spike here. And so what happened to this bunker, it's not had a very good run in the last 20 years or so. It was in really, really good shape. You can probably see that in the 1997 video. And then in 1999, there was a very large windstorm, very powerful windstorm that came through this area that knocked down millions of trees. And so the bunker was very heavily damaged as a result of that. And then when they subsequently cleaned the road, it was damaged again, trying to remove all the trees. And so, I mean, you can see some of the smashed up timbers here. There's some right here. There's all kinds of debris on top of what used to be the bunker here. You can see bits of coal all over the place. Again, you can see more of the timbers here. And there's more timbers here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to the backside, and you can see a little bit better from there. We're going to be a little bit backlit with the sun, but we'll do the best that we can. Okay, so we're on the backside now of the coal bunker. You can see the grade just to the south of us, and you can see some of the remaining timbers here on the backside. Again, it's just in terrible shape. The last time I came here and kind of looked around would have been in 2011, and it was in much better shape than it is now. Again, you can see all of the remains of the coal in here. And you can see some of the timbers that are still here on the backside. Again, just in terminal decomposition here. And eventually it's just going to fade away, which is sad. But inevitably these types of things happen. You can see one of the corners here, you can see one of the pins. So we're back up on the grade. We're traveling here to the west, and the coal bunker is just behind us. And so from here, the grade continues its westward travel towards Gunflint Lake. This last little section here, there's a little creek that passes through, and you can see that it's been replaced by a modern culvert. There was a wooden box culvert here for many years. Unfortunately, it just completely deteriorated and fell apart, and so it had to be replaced. I'm not sure if you can see any of the remains of any of the timbers here from the culvert. I'm pretty sure these ones here are them. You can see a piece right here beside the newer culvert. And so this is the end of our exploration for today, and I hope you've enjoyed this look at what is left here at North Lake. Unfortunately, every year it keeps getting less and less, but that is the inevitability of time.